headquarters located here 803 West Holland Avenue, and via Zoom video conference for the purpose of considering the attached agenda. Meeting logon details can be found in the city website. The notice is posted pursuant to the Texas Open Meetings Act. Action items approved at this meeting will be considered by the city council for final action. So this is our call to order. We have a determination of quorum, and I've read the proof of notice of the meeting. 3 minutes public comments. We only have one person. Do you have anything to say quite yet?
No,
All right. If we could approve the minutes of the previous meeting, February 8th, 2022. Everybody had a chance to look at them? Okay, Pat McCall moves. Do I hear a second?
Second.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
All right, all opposed, same sign. What's wrong with you? No, kidding.
Mm-hmm.
All right, we have two. Well, we really only have 2 discussion items. It's kind of broken up in 3. These are discussion items. We're not going to take action on them tonight, but we thought we would get together and kind of talk about a couple of things. The first one is about spay-neuter ordinances. Again, discussion items only, but Jennifer has put together kind of a presentation of spay-neuter ordinances, what they are like, what needs to be done around them, and I'm going to turn it over to Jennifer.
Okay, so she said I have a slideshow because it is showing up one way, but I'm seeing it another.
Ah,
So that doesn't bother you.
does it look different on your screen?
Yeah, it just looks like that. It doesn't have the,
Oh, okay.
but either way. So I'm just gonna run through this, and I'll have there's a section at the end for discussions and comments and stuff, just to help me kind of stay on track when people do start talking when I'm trying to present.
So wait for comments to the end.
Yeah, so
Make a note.
bear with me. Make a note, please, so I don't get distracted. It's
Squirrel.
on me, I guess. Squirrel. So this is really just going over, do they work? This spay and neuter ordinances, pros and cons. And then our discussion at the end will be just kind of, do we want to pursue this or not? And I will definitely give my opinion if you want to hear it.
Good.
And a lot of this information I got from ASBCA website, and there's a couple other places that I looked as well, but some of these facts and things like that did come from them. I did look into ordinances that are currently put in place, just to kind of give you an idea of what people are using. I didn't personally reach out to these people yet to see if it actually works for them or not. So that might be something to think about as well. So according to the ASBCA, the only human method of population control that has demonstrated a correlation with long-term efficiency and significantly reducing the number of animals entering animal shelters is voluntary sterilization of owned pets. That should make sense, obviously. According to the ASBCA, there is no evidence that sterilizing there is evidence that sterilizing specific risk subpopulations of companion animals such as feral cats and the shelter animals contributes to reductions in the populations as well.
Jennifer, your slides aren't
They're not
progressing.
showing?
They're not progressing.
Well, dang, let me see if I can get out of it and
Yeah.
try it again.
There you go.
Oh, okay.
Whatever you did it. Now we can
Let's
see
try it
some more.
again. Slideshow. So we're on this one. Oh, you can't see that yet. Okay, let me just, if I click it on like this.
Yes, it works.
Well, let's just stick with that, I guess.
Can you go up and X out the little city thing that has your name on it?
It is on mine.
Hey, Gio.
Oh, Gina's gonna help.
You gonna help?
Yes, I was gonna come see if I could. So is it not?
Yeah, it's not really advancing, or it's not doing a slideshow thingy.
Okay.
Let's see if I can close
She can see it, and we just saw the cover sheet.
out.
So it's matching what's on your screen?
I'm seeing they're seeing the little boxes, but I have it closed here.
What do you mean?
little thing that has her name on it up
Yeah.
there.
Top
Can we just
right.
minimize that?
Oh,
It's minimized.
sure.
And then,
Better?
yeah,
But is that the slide you were on?
that is the slide that we're on, yeah.
Okay, great.
I wanted to try it from the beginning. Just so it's kind of taken up the whole screen. It might be easier, a little easier to read
Okay.
if possible.
I'm just
So
listening
go
to
to
you
the
read
first
it.
I have to visualize it.
And then,
I can't
Go to
read
that
that
one.
far
This one
anyway.
here?
No, my contacts are set for surgical distance.
Yeah,
Right.
Mhm.
I can read spay neuter ordinances and that's about it.
Ah.
Anything up underneath it is like
Me
a
too.
blur.
do they work?
Pros and cons.
Yeah, I could.
Spay/neuter ordinance.
I almost failed my driver's license
It's working.
test this
Yeah,
past
we
year
can keep
because
it.
I have
That's
these
fine.
Sorry.
contacts
I'll
on, which
look
are
into it.
what I
Okay.
use every day for at work. But it doesn't give me a distance,
Oh,
like,
well. So we're just gonna stick with this format.
okay.
All right, we can do it.
And I'll just read. So what doesn't work? Lack of enforcement, lack of affordable access, increased shelter surrender, impacting the wrong people, mandating without education. Lack of enforcement, we need full staff at all times. We need to be out there on the streets, you know, constantly communicating with people, you know, making sure that they understand what a spay and neuter ordinance is instead of just going out there and just writing tickets. They need to know why we're doing it, which takes people and time. This, and why I put increased shelter surrender is because it could possibly lead to that. If we're writing people citations for this could lead to surrenders. Let's see, what does work? Low cost, accessible spay and neuter clinics. Education, like I just talked about, no judgmental veterinary shelter and educational staff to work in the field and help towards the common goals in a compassionate way, which is kind of what I hit on there too. Proactive, supportive, and non-breed specific licensing laws. Mandatory spay and neuter requirements for dogs with demonstrated history of aggression. Humane care laws with enforcement for those who choose to breed their dogs. So that's what's found to be working. We are currently with the Humane Society spay and neuter clinics that they've, what's the group called? The West Texas Coalition. Yeah, that's a step in the right direction for low cost, accessible spay and neuter clinics, but we're not quite there yet. It's also my opinion. Let's see here. What is needed for it to work? The community should have a place. You definitely can't read this probably. The community should have in place an adequately funded, readily accessible, safe and efficient, affordable spay neuter program. Community research should identify the particular segments of the population that are contributing disproportionately to shelter intake and euthanasia. So we're doing that right now with my quarterly reports, my monthly reports. We're kind of seeing where our problem areas are in the community. This last year's report, which y'all saw, was we talked about 2 and 4. So, yeah. The community should strive to maximize the accessibility of spay and neuter services and provide compelling incentives to have the surgeries performed. Spay neuter program should be developed with the guidance of veterinary professionals who are committed to delivering high quality spay neuter services to all patients. The program must adequately address the contribution to the ferals and the stray animals that make the overpopulation. The program must be adequately supported in terms of financing, staffing, and infrastructure. The efficiency of all aspects of the program must be motivated and revisions made as necessary to achieve its goals. How are other entities handling this with their laws? So they're writing citations for animals that are unaltered after a certain age. And these are, I don't know if this is actually working. This is just what's been written in these ordinances. Requiring proof of sterility at time of pickup from the shelter, requiring a permit for unaltered animals, requiring a litter permit, requiring a seller's permit, requiring owned animals to be spayed and neutered before returning to their owner after they've come through the shelter. They've also put in exemptions. So if a veterinarian says it's unsafe, training dogs, hurting animals, registered with a club for show. The owner wishes to keep, this was an interesting one. The owner wishes to keep an animal unsterilized and states in a letter that they will acquire a permit if they decide to breed the animal. That's actually written in an ordinance.
Wow.
The animal is at a shelter or other nonprofit organization facility and will be spayed before the animal is adopted out. So those are just little examples, things that I found in the ordinances that do currently exist. And I wanted to kind of present what our numbers look like right now for 2018 to 2021. So this is our straight intake numbers. In 2018, we saw 454 animals. 2019, we jumped up to 599 animals. And then into 2020, which I don't count, went down to 398. And then last year was 359. I say that I don't count it because I feel like our intakes were just different in 2020. And you can also see that in this next slide here is our shelter intakes with surrenders. We stopped taking surrenders or tried to limit our numbers of surrenders. So we only had 47 in 2020, but it jumped back up to 96 last year. So just kind of showing you what we're looking at currently with our intakes. We do see a decline in our straight intakes. So I don't know if it's a collaboration of the spay and neutering that we're currently doing, some of the education that we're doing, but we're just not quite there yet. We're still seeing hundreds and hundreds of animals coming through the shelter. Will a spay neuter ordinance help that? I'm just not sure. So, questions, comments? I know it was
My
We're
initial
answering that.
thought when I heard about the ordinance is, how is it going to be enforced?
mhm,
And staffing and everything that you mentioned that would be needed to actually educate the public and be compassionate about enforcement, yet still do the job. You know, it's a fine line there.
right.
And how do they do the citations after a certain age? You'd have to have.
A lot of
staff
them said
100.
like 6 months. 6 months was the cutoff. Some veterinarians say that it's safer for some types of breeds of animals to, and correct me if I'm wrong, Mary, but to be spayed or neutered later, to allow some, growing and things like that, if possible. Is that a correct?
Mhm.
Okay.
But
So-
veterinarians aren't our problem.
There's you have to weigh the pros and the cons. The pros with getting them spayed before adoption, 2 pounds or greater, under the age of 6 months on dogs, you don't have them reproduce. That's the only pro that I'm seeing.
Yeah.
The con is health issues that can occur later down the line. And earlier, we're seeing now a lot of urinary incontinence that is being brought to us at dogs that are 3-4 years of age instead of being 10 years of age females that were spayed through one of the programs or whatever at a very young age, way earlier than what we would do if it was an owned animal. So, there's of course the programs or the studies that were done on dogs that were spayed and neutered before their growth plates closed. I don't totally agree with that particular part. I like to get them before that they can reproduce, but I like for them to grow up a little bit. But having stifle injuries, blowing the ligaments and so forth is what they were studying, and finding that there is a risk associated with spaying and neutering. What we used to recommend all the time is 6 to 8 months of age on large breed dogs. And they're saying a year and a half to 2 years of age, when the growth plates actually close on large breed dogs, or those dogs that are very active. I mean, you can say border collies, Australian shepherds, stuff like that, until they get extremely fat.
So I have this picture, and I blew through it, but 2 prime examples of animals from this year that we have never seen before, ever. So how is the spay neuter ordinance stopping that? We have two litters of animals born in our shelter. We didn't know these animals existed.
It is definitely education and targeting the population. And then having the ability to, once we've educated, to have them get the surgery, the follow through for them to get the surgery. Because the 2 and 4 is not going to be having the border collies and
Right.
things like that. And so Jennifer said it so well the other day, I had to write it down. This shouldn't just be another way to torment our citizens in doing something they can't afford to do.
No,
It has to be, I say it all the time, it takes a village. It would take a lot of education, targeted education. It would take the pop-up spay neuter clinics, the private clinics, working to shorten the time that they can get in there and get fixed and make some of those trend lines really go down, not just what we're seeing when we think they're going down. You just got 3 years. You don't know if they're really going down or not yet. But we got animals in the shelter that are having babies. And we have 35 dogs, and 7 of them are sitting right there on that picture.
well, what you're seeing up there is the irresponsible ownership. And
Yeah,
that is not always with education. That is with I care or I don't care. And I don't know that you're going to be able to change that attitude. Or like I had in a fantastic little puppy today, that was a little Australian Shepherd puppy that we talked about at an age through the vaccines. We talked about at an age what would be appropriate to neuter this one, because this was a little male. Oh no, I don't want to get my dog neutered. I want to be able for him to have some puppies. So really, okay, well, this is what, and I talked to him about the potential diseases that dog can get from an unknown female that he's out roaming around and he finds, or some, because there are sexually transmitted diseases and so forth. Plus all the unwanted little puppies and that are out there in the world. But do they care? I can tell you that the mentality is going to have to be changed first, not just a guilt trip.
do you have a lot of those do you have a
I
conversation
have a
like that every
conversation.
week?
I have a conversation with every puppy
Uh-huh.
or kitten that goes through about the appropriate time to spay and neuter. And then I have, it would probably be 1 in every 10 conversations that they're really not interested, especially on the male animals,
I know.
because the men especially
I know.
and forgive me, are so closely attached to their dog's testicles that it's
If they
hard to
lose
get them to
they will
separate.
lose them.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I
It's-
said
they-
to a man,
it's the
I'm not talking
mentality.
about yours, I'm
Cover
talking
your
about the
ears,
dogs.
Amit, just-
Oh, no, Amit understands and Amit complies.
Yeah,
I
So-
think you need to almost start at the beginning of, I'm seeing that, I've seen this in my own granddaughter who has had several, you've helped several of her animals. They don't think that there will be vet bills. I mean,
Mhm.
suppose you get a cat like mine that's in there once a month for something and,
Yeah.
and she can't afford that. It's cheap. I mean, I think it's cheap to be able to keep my cat alive by a shot once a month, but people don't even think about that. And it's, well, I'll charge it and I'll pay a little at a time. I'm sorry, you can't do that. That's how they, feed their family, the vets. They have to,
It's
have
not
that
the
money.
families, it's how we pay our bills.
and everything.
Mhm.
So there has to be, you have to start maybe at
So
a different place.
a very big responsible pet ownership program.
Needs to start with, if you get a kitten or a dog, these are the things that you can expect.
Mhm.
Shots are another one. I'm almost positive my granddaughter's dogs have not had shots. And I won't let them come to my house because everybody has had shots at my house. So they don't come there, even though I've got that wonderful backyard to run in. No. Bring me
So what
proof.
about your attendance and your education programs that you've tried to start?
I've had so far just the one student. It's either not being attended or it's not being assigned, unfortunately. So it really hasn't gone anywhere.
You know, what I
It
have,
exists, but
what I've seen, the not asking used to, and I'm saying used to, 15 years ago, and I've been in the business over 20 years. 15 years ago, a veterinarian would be asked to come to a program that was done at school
Yeah.
for the young kids and so forth, as to a career that they might go into. Do they do those anymore?
I tried to
There-
get in the schools to, had a program about responsible pet ownership probably about 5 or 6 years ago, and I was told that they want to teach to the test, and they don't have time for that.
It's
that's infuriating.
It
'Cause I
is
think if
infuriating.
we start with our young people, because we might not change our adult population, but if we can start with our younger people and maybe change, you know, their mindsets, then we might be looking at a different future for our community animals.
so maybe trying to reach out to the elementary and the middle schools and even the high schools about programs that we might be able to get in and teach, have a career day. And not just have, like, for veterinarians, have for like your job or it's animal oriented type of jobs and so forth, that might try and at least get their ears going and have a conversation possibly that they would even talk to their owners, their parents about, is where it starts. Because most parents get, oh, that Charlie or whomever at home, their 13-year-old kid wants a dog. And for the most part, when they come into my practice and so forth, they're trying to present the animal as it is owned by that 13-year-old. I can't legally put a 13-year-old in my computer as an owner because they have
Right.
to be a financially responsible person. And that has a lot of definition variations. So I think the education, one, we used to have career days. And the last career day that I went to, I can't even remember the year. So education, advertisement, you're talking about trying to get the information out there. I hear Patsy on the radio a lot of mornings and so forth. But it's trying to get out there in the public ear. And I don't know that we're being effective with that.
Well, I hear a lot that people are listening to the radio. I'm kind of surprised. I did not realize that many people in this town listen to the radio.
There's times when I turn it off because
It's
I-
my
it's-
voice and you don't hear anymore.
it's the type of music and stuff that gets
Yeah,
played. That's
yeah.
what, when I turn it off. So
And
I
I
don't
think
agree
it's
with all
an
that type of
age
music.
group thing. Like I have family members that I know don't even know what the radio station is.
Yeah.
But it
Because
has to
they've
be,
got to look at their phone or their
yeah.
computer.
It's getting the information out there. And I think that that's
In
going to
all
be
the
first and
ways.
foremost the goal. And then if you get the information out there, then you may be able to start talking about a spay neuter ordinance more sincerely.
Right.
And the education as to why we need a spay neuter ordinance.
We can't do it the other way around. We
No,
have to
I
have the
agree.
education in place, the education programs in place. We are going to have to make sure that these clinics are still going, you know, that you're still getting your services too from the public. That's
Mhm.
important, that we're supporting our local veterinarians as well.
Mhm.
There's just so many aspects. I don't think throwing a law out there without being fully prepared is a great idea.
What constitutes a breeder?
You know, I would say,
I mean-
I would say somebody
Yeah,
that's
the
breeding
problem I have
purebred
with this
animals.
real general, oh, we want to breed our dog. If you
Right.
have registered animals and you are showing those animals, you're breeding to a standard.
Right.
People who have 2 pit bulls in the backyard and they have litters of 10 and 12 and they sell them. And then they turn right around and breed those dogs again. And of course, all the people that are getting them are going, oh, well, now I can make money off
Mhm.
this. And do
Backyard
that, and that
breeders, yeah.
drives me
Yeah,
insane.
not backyard breeders. This would be breeder, like
Right.
registered breeders.
Show
Okay.
dogs. And backyard breeders are a problem everywhere.
I
But
know.
they're still breeders,
But
and
they're
it's the
still breeders.
definition of a breeder, whether or not you take the dog to a show or that you sell a dog. For me, that is a business. And that's how I present it when they are breeding, they're on purpose breeding a male to a specific female and so forth. And then they have 10 puppies that they need to find homes for. And I said, sell them to individuals who will pay a price and then educate them before you hand the puppy over and let them hear that they need to continue with vaccinations if you've already started them. Because where we see parvo is, it's on full-blooded dogs, it's on mixed breed dogs, it's on $500, $1,500 dogs that have had one shot and the owner's ear has heard they've had their shots. And they're 6 weeks old, 9 weeks old when they get them, and they never continue on with vaccinations. And they're presenting to us when they are 3 months old, 4 months old, 6 months old with parvo and dying. And it doesn't matter how much they pay for that dog. It's still a dead dog. Or they're paying, you know, they cry whenever they have to pay $300, $500 to hospitalize the dog or take the dog home and try and do home care and so forth for it to try and cut their costs and so forth. And you can't predict the dog who's going to survive the parvo. So I don't know. It just really upsets me. You can tell I'm on my high horse with that one there, but there should not be one parvo dog or one distemper dog on this planet now. There should not be.
What about, you know, you and I did it, what, about 5 years ago, we did the microchip in vaccine clinic.
Mhm.
Reinstating the vaccine clinics somehow and getting the word out, which would solve some of the problem.
Yeah. We did that vaccine clinic. You know how many we had?
52.
Not very many.
Yeah, I remember
So
the number. We had
The
52.
second time that we did it, we didn't even have that many.
Wow.
And I totally refused to do another clinic until I have a little bit better response from public. They can come to my clinic and we can give them discounted prices, or the Humane Society can help them with their vaccinations or whatever. But I don't get to give them an education out there in line as they filter through. I get to give them the education when they're in my clinic and I have at least 15 minutes of their time.
Mhm.
So it's very difficult through a vaccination clinic. Sure, we give it at low cost and so forth, but the response that we've had, there used to be 200 people.
I know. Well, and I was thinking that it may be that it's the place where the vaccines are happening. The animals are getting
Mhm.
vaccinated. We're sure they're getting
Mhm.
vaccinated. And the rest, the Humane Society, the Animal Services, Big Bend Pets, we're there as the education and the communication and that
Mhm.
type of thing. We know the animals will get
Mhm.
vaccinated. Now, having said that, 52 was not what the turnout I wanted either.
Mm-mm.
I wanted 152.
I get a better response going to Sanderson, Texas for a vaccination clinic. They can bring them to town. So a lot of them do. And especially when they limited me to coming to once a year for the last 2 years because of COVID and all of that mess. So anyway, I think educating them before we push a spay neuter ordinance, and two, in targeting not just a blanket for everyone on these, like the vaccine, the low cost
Mhm.
vaccine clinics for our spay neuter vaccination clinics. It really needs to be screened for those people who really can't afford to go to the veterinarian. And I see that every day. I have referred people to just wait a little bit. There'll be another pop-up clinic. And since you can't afford what we're asking for, maybe you can afford what they are. You just have to get registered. But if you've got the president of the university at the price, and I'm just using this as an example because we had that one year, that was not screened and had his basset hound spayed through the Humane Society program, that man could have afforded going through a veterinarian. And instead, he chose to take his dog to a place that had a lower cost facility or a lower price. And I don't think that's right.
Well, it's kind of like the food bank, you know?
Mhm.
You say, only the people that need to come to the food bank are the people that need the food.
It
But
should be.
They're showing up because they have some reason that they need to be there.
Exactly, and but there, what I'm talking about is any kind of screening process whatsoever.
Mhm.
And I'm not saying that there isn't a screening process, you have to register for it and so forth, but what is the screening process? I haven't been educated in that.
The chair would like to recognize the Humane Society.
I actually would just like to make a couple of
Yeah.
comments. I'd actually like to be on your next agenda because I've already been working. I'm collecting a lot of these plans and working with the Human Animal Support Services.
That Haas.
Yeah, and so I think I could tell you what I'm planning to do with a lot of these things, if my staff would stop turning over.
Jennifer
but-
understands.
Also, as far as screening, what we found is when we were offering to pay 100% for spay neuter at the vets, we didn't have as many people take advantage of it. When we ask them now, and we've bumped it up to like $60 and $75, it used to be like 45. Can you pay at least 45?
Yeah,
But when we ask them to pay something, we get a better response
Mhm.
and nearly everybody pays that or a little more. The clinics that we hold, probably 96% of the people pay the amount that we're asking for. We do not subsidize very many of them. People are willing to pay. I think they need to know, they need guidance and somebody pushing them toward, either going to the local vet and, hey, we'll help, or, here's a clinic. And the education is a big part of it, definitely, and we need to do a better job with that.
Mhm.
And now with the clinics too, we're handing everybody a paper with all of the local vets information. We're saying, now your pet has been vaccinated, because they vaccinate every pet unless you know for sure they've been vaccinated within the last few months or whatever, they vaccinate everybody. We're handing out a sheet with the veterinarian contact, and we're saying, okay, your pet has now had vaccine. You need to do this, on this regular basis. You need to make a relationship with these vets, one of them, and become their patient so that your pet stays up on their vaccines and things like that. So we are trying to do that, to connect these people now to get into regular vet care with our local vet.
and that's a good thing to do. I would hope that they would listen to you. Do you hand out pamphlets or anything like that besides just the name and location or telephone number of these area veterinarians?
We started doing that, and I'm working on developing more materials. I have a
Mhm.
whole collection of them.
Mhm.
So we're getting little bags that everybody's gonna get when they come to these. It's gonna have more comprehensive
Mhm.
information, including, please get a relationship with your local vet. But yeah, and the other thing is, I just want to say really quick, is I would like us to spend the money and work with y'all, Jennifer, whoever, and do some every door direct mailings. It's semi-affordable to get a postcard, of such size, particularly in wards 2 and 4, maybe. I'd have to see how the postal codes break out or the routes, but again, education and hitting them a few times, during the year with information about ferals,
Mhm.
with information about pets, with information about, whatever you might want to put as far as, if we do have an ordinance or something like that. So
And bilingual.
bilingual, and we've got that luxury with Marianne, she's fluent in Spanish. So everything we're doing now is also in Spanish.
I wonder, the water, our water bills and stuff are coming in the mail now from
Yeah,
here.
I see that.
That could be something that I could ask.
A stuffer?
Bill and
A
stuff.
stuffer,
Mhm.
a bill stuffer.
And-
It might be giving some extra work for the crew up there, but
Well,
maybe,
even
it
if
wouldn't
we
hurt to
could help
ask,
them out, if we could help them out with a volunteer, one of our board members or something.
Yeah, and the PSA on the radios have reached a couple of people because Jennifer every month does a PSA, so that's reached them. No, it's not in Spanish. I don't have that ability. And then if you did direct mail to the doors, I think that would be wonderful. I do door hangers when I know there's a feral cat population. So we're talking to them a lot, but we still have puppies at the shelter, and we still have kittens at the shelter.
Well, if you consider putting me on your next agenda, I'd
Sure.
like to share what I've been working on and
Okay.
putting together. Because I think you would find it beneficial, and I would love to get your input as well.
Okay, all right, that sounds great. All right, we spent about 30 minutes discussing that. I think everybody is of the opinion that we're not ready for a spay neuter
Mhm.
ordinance, that we have plenty of work left to do. We've come up with some great ideas just in this little 30 minutes. So we can move to the next one. Everybody okay with that? All right. The next item on the agenda is the dangerous dogs and animals deemed hazardous to public health and safety, and really B and C are together. We had a situation where this particular piece of the ordinance, no dog shall be deemed a dangerous dog if the animal control officer determines the conduct of the dog during the incident was justified because the dog was responding to pain or injury, or was protecting itself, its owner, custodian, or a member of the household, kennel, or offspring. This was a situation that we had where the owner caused the dog to have a reaction. And I think that, and you're gonna have to jump in
Yeah.
here. The animal control officer deemed the dog dangerous,
Right,
and it was reversed in court.
correct, because of the wording that's
Yeah, of this ordinance.
even though this dog had 2 prior incidents. We had video evidence of the incident that occurred here. But the animal was not restrained. And in my opinion, was provoked by the owner to attack this gentleman. So I think there should be some sort of wording in there that specifies that if an owner provokes their animal to attack, then the deeming of dangerous should stand, especially with two incidents.
Thoughts?
My face was exactly how your face just happened
Yeah.
when that happened.
We've
I
been-
know.
Sure.
Yes.
We've been through the dangerous dog ordinance. Man, we worked on this thing for a long, long time. And this is the time that we kind of rubber met the road and we find we have one more tweak to do. So do we want to put it on the agenda and really work on defining provoked or defining this exception? The erratic behavior of an owner would be considered part of the dangerous dog determination, so it won't get thrown out of court again. Now, the man, if I remember right, did not get the dog back. Is that
No,
right?
he didn't.
Yeah. So the judge did see that light, but really took our ordinance and pretty well said, well, I don't think you've defined provoked very well.
In that case, I think we should do it. I like the way this is worded. I'm shocked that that's what happened. And I agree with you,
Yeah.
that we should define it to prevent this from happening again in the future if we have to go to court.
Who's
So-
the judge?
Our current.
Municipal judge.
But is this the way that it's worded in our ordinance right now?
Yes, so
And
that's,
the only thing that really should be changed on that, Jennifer, I would think, is that if this somehow saying that if this is the dog's first offense, if it is the dog's a second offense or more, then the dog is definitely deemed dangerous. The owner should have taken care to know that the dog would respond in that particular fashion when the owner is in such a uproar, and was attacking more or less verbally as well as physically showing the affront, because I saw the video and so
Yeah.
forth. He was coming up after the man that the dog attacked. So the dog was a weapon, more or less, of that particular owner, and the owner knew that the dog would do it. Although he felt very sorry that the dog did it after the man shot the dog.
there was not enough evidence with the first case. It
Mhm.
wasn't here. This was in a different state
Mhm.
that it occurred. So the report did not give us enough information to determine whether that was a provoked or unprovoked
Mhm.
incident. But what we had solid here,
Mhm.
in my opinion, could have potentially deemed that dog dangerous
Mhm.
if
So
the
you-
wording wasn't like this
Are
anymore.
you saying you think it's the number of times?
Well, I mean, there's always people appreciate, and I'll tell you the mentality on one end, that people appreciate a dog who is protective of their owner. So, but the owner has to have that responsibility in knowing that this dog is capable of an attack
And have the control.
and have the control of the dog. So if the dog has proven that it can do that and it gets off on that, it should not get off on any other offense. And it was proven, I think, that the owner knew that that dog would do the things that he did to the guy that he attacked.
Yeah.
So somehow in here, we have to, I think that everybody needs a second chance. The dog needs, it, and depending on the amount of damage that was done, because he damaged his leg pretty good.
Yeah.
But the method of the attack, the damage that was done and so forth, all needs to be taken into account. But if it's the dog's first offense, then maybe not have the dangerous aspect to it, but appending or have some sort of wording that's associated with that particular dog, that it did have an offense, and that if it had a second offense, that it's gone.
We had the term potentially dangerous in our ordinance at one point. I can't remember if we pulled it or
Yeah,
not.
I can't either.
But the thing is what is the definition of why would we have deemed the dog potentially? So, and
Because
it,
of maybe one attack or maybe
Uh-huh.
just the animal
Behavior.
behaving in a certain. way.
just being more defined, I guess.
Yeah, and provoked by who? You know,
Yeah.
if that, I think that was the key.
Because there's not really a clear definition of
Who
provoked, because if the owner, if the animal was provoked, but it wasn't provoked by the gentleman. per
Right,
se.
I-
not the victim, but by the owner.
The person, the victim,
Mhm.
was in confrontation
Mhm.
with the owner of the dog. And the confrontation is what the dog is seeing as a provocation.
Yeah.
And in the dog's demeanor, he was protecting the owner, that the owner himself was being aggressive.
Yeah, he did not have to come back up. the
No, he did
stairs.
not. He was already going down the stairs.
Mhm.
He did not have to come back up and raise his voice and like charging.
Mhm.
And the dog was well ahead of him. The dog was already going down the
No, the
stairwell.
dog was ready to go.
Uh-huh. So in that particular case, the owner caused the provocation.
So do we write it for how many offenses, or do we
I'd say
write it by
one.
who's provoked by who? Or
I think
both,
it's both.
or both?
I think it's both, but I mean, if who the dog is attacking was not being attacked, was not attacking the owner of the dog.
Mhm.
I mean, you could see if I was being attacked by a person and I had my dog on my leash walking down and my dog attacked, jumped on that, my dog's not a vicious dog, but the
Mhm.
dog saw me getting attacked.
And that's what you would want your
That's
dog.
what you would want.
Right.
And there are dogs that are trained for that. The dogs have the mentality for that. And a lot of those dogs are in service or hired
Mhm.
for protection, stuff like that. That dog certainly has the potential for it to be a dangerous dog. And that's
Yeah.
where the term potential was in there.
So is this a second offense and provoked by the owner, or is this a second offense or provoked by the owner? Because
Because it could be two different
It could be two
situations.
different
And then
situations.
You have a situation too, like if you have a dog that's in their own enclosure, in their own home, and say you have somebody that daily walks by there and provokes and teases that
Mhm,
dog,
mhm.
and eventually one day that dog gets out and bites that person.
Yeah,
To me, that would be, the
Uh,
victim would be
Mhm.
the provoker of a
exactly.
situation like that,
Exactly.
you know? Or you're coming onto that property
The dog was
without
responding-
invitation,
yeah.
that's something
But
different.
you
Protecting
also have
itself.
to have a posted sign that you
course,
have a
of
dog, beware of dog, or something like
Right.
that.
So I
And
think this needs just an exception.
it does need an exception. It needs something that, I mean, I'd hate for any dog, like the dog who attacked and killed the cat, and so forth. One, the dog was just being the
dog.
dog. But it's the second offense that really raises the caliber of the reaction.
All right, well, I'll give it a shot, and I imagine James will have some input on this,
Yeah.
being a dog trainer, so
Yeah.
we'll let, bring it at the next meeting, and I'll give it a shot.
Yeah, I hate to see anyone, just like Jennifer, I hate to see any dog lose his life.
Right,
And that dog was given a third chance in
Yes, it
this
was.
particular case. And I'm hoping that that dog has the warning associated with it to whomever that they're going to try and adopt that animal out to. But if that dog does it again, I'm wondering who's going to be held liable. If this city is not going to be held liable for that dog going on and potentially causing great harm to either a child or another person.
Good point.
did
Maybe
the
you should
dog,
have a paper that they have to sign.
Oh,
That you
they were
have-
sent with the judgment. Everybody's,
Mhm.
and it's required, I believe, that it's written in there that
Mhm.
anybody that does take on the dog has the ability or does get the judgment before the animals.
What kind of dog?
So, and what got him off leg is a grazed bullet wound through a cheek and then also off of an elbow on the opposite side of the dog. I think it was this cheek here and that elbow there.
Well, have you read about that woman that was attacked by those dogs and they injured her so badly, they had to amputate her arms,
Both arms,
It
yeah.
can happen.
you know?
It can happen.
And
Dog
they
attacks
barely
are
could
not.
get the dogs off of her.
It does depend on the size of the dog as for the injury. A Chihuahua is not going to do that particular damage, but a larger breed dog with the jaw strength and the pressure strength and everything like that can cause great damage to a person.
Well, and particularly when there's more than one,
Sure.
because they pack up.
Yeah,
But just curious, disposition of the dog, is it not in our jurisdiction anymore?
No, oh, absolutely not.
Okay, just check.
he's not even in the state, is he?
No.
Is
Yeah,
he
State
like a war
California.
dog?
He belongs in
Oh,
California.
that's right. He's acting like a Californian.
God almighty.
All
I
right,
hope we
well,
don't have any people in California that are here.
we're recorded. All right, so I will take an attempt at that and suggested next meeting. Sounds like we got a couple of things to discuss, so maybe we'll try for the second, what is the second Tuesday in May? I may not be here.
10th?
Oh, 10th I would be here. That looked like a good time for everybody. Oh, I wish the calendar was easier to read. There we go. Yep, May 10th.
May 10th.
May 10th. And I have a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Okay, thank you, everybody. Appreciate it. And we'll have you on the agenda for
Thanks.
next time.